Hello everybody, this is Julian Strauss with Sanatio Strauss. This is episode number 2. So here we go. Driving into Yorkton, Saskatchewan and killing some time, and thought to myself, well, what would I like to talk about today? So what I'd like to talk about today is going to be for my patients, so I can direct my patients to a website to give them a brief explanation on protocols, on what protocols I advise when we speak to, whether it's an oncologist, whether it's a specialist for a neurologist, whether it's really any of the caregivers that I deal with and medical practitioners that I deal with in regards to manufacturing cannabis-based oils and edibles. So here we go. I get these questions all the time, so I'm going to do my best to answer them to the best of my ability here while I'm driving down the highway. Number one, we're going to take somebody, for example, who has multiple sclerosis. Now we can take multiple sclerosis and we can superimpose Parkinson's, or we can superimpose ALS, or we can basically take any of the basic, true pathological diseases and or ailments that the human body has, and use this as protocols for the vast majority of them. We're talking about cannabis, and remembering cannabis has never hurt anybody. None of the multiple billions of endogenous or naturally occurring cannabinoid-like compounds in the human body and the corresponding receptors are anywhere near any vital functions, which is really, really, really important to remember. Now, because there are no cannabinoid receptors that have an impact on things like heart rate, on things like breathing, vital functions of the human body. This is why there's never been an injury from cannabis. This is why in 10,000 plus, that's debatable, even if we say 5,000 plus years of recorded in some manner history with cannabis, why there has never been an issue, why there's never been an injury. And the reason is naturally occurring endogenous cannabinoids do not affect any vital functions of the human body. So again, protocols. So what we're talking about, remembering that every human being interacts with cannabis differently. Every human being has naturally occurring cannabis equivalents or cannabis looking or like substances or compounds in the human body. We can get into the names of them and all of that fun stuff, which we'll probably do at a later date. But we're just going to say, okay, endogenous cannabinoids in the human body, molecularly very similar to cannabis compounds found in the plant, which is why the human body interacts with cannabinoids so well, because they have this whole ecosystem internally, endogenously in the human body that has been designed to use cannabis-like compounds for cellular and neurological map and just about everything. Homeostasis, self-regulation in the human body is, and its correlating functions are managed by the ECS system, the endogenous cannabinoid system of the human body. So, nice and simple, I tell everybody, especially if they're not a cannabis smoker, that your body, you will. People will say if it's not decarboxylated, natural acid-bound cannabinoids are going to be far less psychoactive, and they're right. But they're not that right. There still will be a considerable a psychoactive component to all cannabis-derived medications, much like Tylenol or ibuprofen or anything else that you can name. Caffeine, alcohol, anything that interacts with natural receptors in the human body that create or provoke a psychoactive response. So, yes, there will be a psychoactive response. So, which is very important to remember that what we're talking about then is a tolerance, basically building up levels in the body that don't affect you psychoactively or affect you very, very low psychoactivity in the human body, in which you've got to build that threshold up. So again, I tell everybody to start with a glycerin and alcohol-based tincture. Now, a tincture is great. A tincture is primarily what I use post-treatment. That's my maintenance dose. I've been on a maintenance dose of tincture for about 9 years, and it's fantastic. I manufacture a very low THC tincture, which means that in the morning I take a tincture that has incredibly low levels of THC, 0.5 to 1.5. Almost unquantifiable. It shows up on the Cannalytics tests, but very little. So we have a very low dose THC product, and that's what I take in the morning because I have enough of an issue with maintaining continuity or not stuttering or not having breaks in my voice. And when I ingest THC, I become tongue-tied. I have a lot of issues with needing to not have any psychoactive component to a tincture in the morning. So that's what I take in the morning. In the evening, I have a high-dose THC to maintain high levels of THC. THC is sort of like the key that unlocks cannabinoid receptors. So when you hear people say, well, I want no THC, I want no THC. Well, EMRIs of the human brain and of the human body, and MRIs of the human body, that when we're looking for cannabis interaction, without THC, we have very little electrical connectivity, very little firing of receptors, which means that THC is what sort of greases the skids or greases the wheels for the rest of the cannabinoids to interact with the human body. So THC is required, or is beneficial, very beneficial. So again, we have a low-dose tincture. Tinctures are great because they're buccal membrane absorbed, meaning if you're dealing with a pain symptom, if you've got physical pain, if you're dealing with threshold pain issues, looking to numb that pain to the point where you can manage your life, if you are dealing with palsy, if you're dealing with epilepsy, if you're dealing with anything that gives you a spasm of the human body, what we're looking to do is, with tincture, is have a buccal membrane uptake or absorption. And what that means is the membrane in your mouth, in your throat, your nasal cavities, obviously, the membrane in your mouth is going to be directly taking in those cannabinoids and dispersing them into your bloodstream immediately. So if you're dealing with epilepsy, a little bit of tincture on or under your tongue and not swallowing can alleviate the symptoms of an epileptic seizure, in a minute or far under, actually. So you have a very quick biochemical reaction, right? Your body immediately recognizes the chemicals introduced to the bloodstream through the buccal membrane. And if you're dealing with threshold pain or severe pain, if you're dealing with spasms, or if you're dealing with palsy, tinctures are a great way to manage symptoms, as well as maintaining a fairly high levels of cannabinoids throughout your body. When you're on a cannabis oil treatment, one of the things you want to remember is you don't want to take one dose a day or one dose every 2 days. You want to take smaller doses multiple times a day. And the reason is much like any medication, you're looking to get that saturation point where you're going to start to have a benefit. So what you're looking for is to maintain high levels of cannabinoids in your body and then keep topping them up as your body's using them, or as your body is metabolizing them and consuming them. So again, we would advise half a dropper or a quarter of a dropper, and again, this is going to be solely dependent upon your personal interaction, meaning I can't tell you how much to take. I can tell you to start with a quarter of a small dropper, and you're going to have very little effect, or it may be just perfect, and then slowly and incrementally increase your dosage until you find that level that you are not impaired. You feel comfortable driving or speaking or out in the world. You don't have any of the typical side effects like red eyes or dry mouth or whatever it is, and you can manage your life easily. And then maybe once a week start incrementally again increasing that dose, because you're looking for a fairly high level of external cannabinoids added to your endogenous cannabinoid system to get the benefits that we can demonstrate in the lab, or that has been demonstrated through hundreds and hundreds of scientific studies. So again, what we're looking for, buccal membrane absorbed tincture is great to start. Then we're going to want our coconut suspended. Whether you want to call it a Rick Simpson oil or a Phoenix Tears, or whether you just want to call it cannabis oil, whatever you want to call it, whatever the terminology is that you use, that's fine. Remembering that a Rick Simpson oil or a Phoenix Tears is decarboxylated, meaning it's not going to penetrate as deep into the body's organs and brain, and it's not going to have the same medical efficacy. But understanding that our coconut suspended oil is not decarboxylated, we suspend it in coconut so that we can never be accused of selling a divertible product, meaning our oil is no longer smokable. Somebody can't buy it claiming to have A, B, or C ailment and then turn around and sell it to their friends for a recreational drug. So it's just one more level of security and safety that my company has in regards to exporting throughout the country. Now, so again, a tincture, we advise taking only tincture for the first week or 2 weeks to build up a tolerance, maybe 3 weeks, depends on your tolerance, and then slowly start administering low doses of our coconut oil, of our our cannabis oil. And what we're doing is we are starting, let's say, maybe a quarter of a gram. And I tell everybody as a protocol, when you start bringing the oil into your regimen, your treatment, bring the oil in before bed. Start taking, for example, a quarter of a gram and take it before bed. It's not decarboxylated, so it doesn't have a strong couch lock or a strong high, but it does have some effect. So if you take it before bed, the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to have a really good sleep, you're going to giggle a little before sleep, and you may enjoy your movie a little more. You may be a little more introspective, and you may find a few metaphors. You may understand the allegory of the story a little better. The sort of the empathetic inducing or the empathy inducing qualities of cannabis, which is another conversation we'll have at another time. I see personally one of the most beneficial effects of cannabis on all patients is it's cannabis's naturally fostering ability for empathy. So scientists tell us that there's maybe 12 different centers of the brain that all work together, 12 points in the brain that work together to create empathy. And what cannabis seems to do, or in my opinion unequivocally, what cannabis does is whatever that relationship is in the brain at these 12 different points of the brain, what marijuana does is marijuana helps them communicate. Marijuana, again, greases the wheels of empathy, which is a fabulous thing in regards to quality of life and spending time with your kids, especially if you're dealing with a severe illness or wife and family. Now, again, so we're talking when we introduce cannabis oils and cannabis extracts past the tincture phase, we're asking you to take your first, maybe first through fifth dose before bed, and then you can really monitor how it makes you feel and how it's affecting your body. Now, there will come a time, because obviously the goal here is to consume a gram a day. Now, if you have to consume a gram of oil a day plus tincture in regards to a maintenance dose and maintaining those levels in the body, that's a very high level of cannabis. And a lot of people could never start taking a gram a day without devastating effects, meaning they would not be able to get off the couch. How devastating is that? Well, I guess that would be up to you. But for myself, that would be devastating. I've got a new baby. I have an 8-year-old girl. A lot of friends and family and business in which I need to be engaging, positive, thoughtful, and really have my best foot forward in life. So again, I would never be able to consume a gram a day of oil and function without a fairly long period of time of slowly rolling myself into it or building that tolerance to the cannabis that would allow me to get to that level. Now, I've obviously done it before. I did 90 days, so 3 months of a gram a day. So it was about a 4.5 month treatment, because it took me about a month and a half to get to that level. And it made, obviously, it provided for me incredible benefits, everything from metabolism to endocrine to anti-tumoral. So it was had a huge impact on my life, which is why I do what I do. I'm a stockbroker by trade. I worked for Scotia McLeod for many years in San Francisco and in Vancouver until I got sick and my mother got sick, and we found cannabis as our solution. Again, in regards to protocol, tincture is where I always ask everybody to start. On from tincture is going to be incrementally increasing your doses to the point where you can take half a dropper 3 times a day. When you can take half a dropper 3 times a day, then you can start moving yourself onto the oil, the coconut oil and the cannabis oil. When you can starting the cannabis oil at a quarter of a gram or less before bed, at least 2 hours before bed, so you can really understand how it's affecting you physiologically. And once you've taken cannabis oil before bed for maybe a week, then bump that up to a quarter of a gram in the morning and a quarter of a gram at night, and on we go. I have no problem in regards to a final protocol of half a dropper of tincture in the morning, half a dropper of tincture at night, and a quarter of a gram of coconut suspended oil and in the morning, and 3/4 of a gram of coconut suspended oil before bed. That would be what I would consider the optimal dosage and the optimal protocol. How you get to that protocol is going to depend solely upon the manner in which your body engages with cannabis. So, thank you very much, and I will check in again very shortly. I am hoping to be able to put up approximately 5 episodes a week on my YouTube site, and I hope that somebody finds it interesting or helpful, or and if you do, pass it on. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.